An Air Force trainer jet crashes in southern Taiwan, killing the pilot. 30 Chinese planes enter the ADIZ, the largest incursion for months. No appointment required. Taiwan steps up efforts to get children vaccinated. And the pressure piles on night markets to stop giving away live animals as prizes. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Taiwan's military on Tuesday is investigating the crash of a military training jet that happened just minutes after takeoff near the southern port city of Kaohsiung, killing the pilot. As Rick Lowett reports, it is the latest in a slew of Air Force accidents over the last few years.
Smoke rises on the outskirts of Taiwan's southern city of Kaohsiung on Tuesday morning. 5 minutes after taking off from a nearby Air Force base, an AT-3 trainer jet signal disappeared from radar before it crashed. The city's fire service found flight debris and the body of the pilot, 23-year-old Lieutenant Xu Dajun. President Tsai Ing-wen led tributes to the young pilot, expressing condolences to his family. The Ministry of National Defense is investigating the crash, and the Air Force has grounded all training flights. Xu's death is the latest in a slew of fatal Air Force crashes in Taiwan. The country's aging AT-3 trainers were built in the 1980s and have been involved in 15 accidents, causing 10 deaths since they came into service.
那这个飞机已经到了40年，它的妥善率虽然可以保持妥善的状况，但是我们可以知道，有的时候它的可靠度没那么的高，两岸的状况也跟以前不一样，对飞行员的培养也在加紧脚步。那对这种使用量高的状况之下，它的飞机的妥善率是不是会受到影响？而且有些的零件是消失性的伤员，并不见得买得到。
In March this year, Taiwan's Air Force grounded its fleet of Mirage 2000 fighter jets after one crashed into the sea, injuring the pilot. And in January, a pilot was killed when an F-16V crashed into the water off western Taiwan.
I think Taiwan military will take the responsibility to investigate such an accident. Whatever the so-called trainer aircraft, the accident is cost of the mechanism or human failure. Anyway, I believe that the military will try to build new safety management to avoid such an accident.
Taiwan's Air Force is on the front line of the battle against China's grey zone warfare. China, which claims Taiwan as its own, has upped threats to take the island by force, regularly sending military planes towards the island, forcing Taiwan to scramble its own jets. It is part of China's war of attrition to wear down Taiwan's military. Actually,
the so-called grey zone conflict target or strategy is actually is an kind of psychological warfare. Whenever it uses the aircraft to cross the airspace of Taiwan, or use the so-called information warfare, information try to transfer and try to change the mindset of a citizen.
As investigators look into what caused this latest fatal crash, the young pilot's death is another blow to an air force and a country which, though not officially at war, is under constant threat. Chris Marr and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
30 Chinese warplanes entered Taiwan's air defense zone on Monday, the largest incursion since January. 8 radar planes and 22 fighter jets were detected entering the southwestern corner of Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. Also seen for the first time was a new Su-35, a more advanced type of fighter jet. An ADIZ is not a country's airspace, but a security zone where aircraft must identify themselves. So far this year, more than 450 Chinese military planes have entered Taiwan's ADIZ. China claims Taiwan as its own territory and has not ruled out taking the island by force. For more on the latest breach into Taiwan's ADIZ, our reporter Jaime Ocon spoke to Gerald Brown, a defense expert based in Washington, D.C. He started off by asking about the significance of the latest incursion.
First off, it's the high number, right? There is about 30 aircraft, and usually when we see an incursion with a high number of sorties, I would say over 10 or something around there. Usually there's more of a political aspect of that as well as a training kind of a connotation there. Obviously, there's a few big things that happened the last week, and we've definitely seen the incursions ramping up. There was the recent Biden statement about a willingness to defend Taiwan. There was the recent congressional visits to Taiwan. So a lot of different activities that Beijing could see as a slight of their one China principle. In addition to that, there's the inclusion of the Su-35.
And you mentioned in this latest incursion, 2 Su-35s were included in the group of sorties. Can you kind of talk about the significance of sending these new type of aircraft into Taiwan's ADIZ?
China's had these aircraft for several years now, right? So I think the biggest surprise is that we haven't seen them yet, right? But over time, we've seen slowly a little bit more sophistication in these sorties. So we could just say this is really indicative of the PLA slowly growing more confident, PLA modernization becoming a little more advanced. But Su-35 is an advanced multi-role fighter, right? They're probably going to be a key component in any kind of mission throughout the Taiwan Strait. So it makes sense that we're starting to see these, especially since they've had them for several years.
So last year, we saw close to 1,000 Chinese aircraft enter Taiwan's ADIZ. And this year, we have passed 400. Are we set to surpass the amount of last year's Chinese sorties into Taiwan's ADIZ?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That you have that exactly right. Right now, to this date, for 2022, we're at 468 aircraft have entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone. And that's considerably higher than this same period last year. So if we took just the first 5 months of 2021, that was 311 sorties, right? So right now it's on track. And, we'll see how the next several months go. So if it's anything like last year, then summer months it dips down a little bit and then it picked back up over to the winter. So we'll see what happens, but definitely on track to be larger than the preceding years.
Taiwan is stepping up efforts to vaccinate young children against COVID-19. The Central Epidemic Command Center is opening 6 large-scale vaccination sites in major cities on Wednesday. 5 to 11-year-olds can get the Pfizer-BioNTech jab without an appointment. About 450,000 children in that age group have already been vaccinated. That's around 30% overall. Taiwan has taken delivery of over 1.1 million vaccine doses meant for children. Many of the child COVID-19 deaths reported in Taiwan so far had complications caused by acute encephalitis. This side effect has not been seen in most other parts of the world. To find out more, reporter Eric Gao spoke with Jiang Guanyu, a visiting staff doctor with Taipei City Hospital. He began by asking Jiang what's behind the encephalitis.
In the global experience, it's a really rare cases, but however, it's seemingly higher in Taiwan. The previous similar experience is from Hong Kong, but there is just 2 cases. It's about COVID encephalitis in child. The enterovirus type 71 have caused numerous child encephalitis in previous time, and Taiwan's public health have dealt with this situation for a long time and have reported a lot of paper. And now we just copy the model of the enterovirus to the COVID. So our CECC and some specialists in pediatric to integrate a platform to collecting all the data.
Here in Taiwan, the Central Epidemic Command Center says the death rate among child COVID patients is, I believe, 0.3 out of every 10,000. How does that compare to the child death rate in the rest of the world?
Actually speaking, the chance of the child encephalitis in COVID is similar to zero. There's almost no cases globally. This is a special cases in Taiwan, exactly. But however, I think it's a different presentation globally because in Europe and American society, the COVID caused child's hepatitis, severe hepatitis. There's special presentation in other countries, but there is no case in Taiwan. So in different countries, they have different problems.
Some COVID-19 patients have exhibited long-term after effects even after recovering. Will these children who get encephalitis and still recover, will they suffer long-term COVID-19 effects as well?
It's a very interesting problem because the child who got the virus encephalitis is always irreversible. It is our problem. Even we have the mannitol, that means to decrease the brain's pressure, or some steroid to downgrade the inflammation. So the long-term cause of the encephalitis, I think there's no answer in Taiwan till now. This is a new phenomenon and we need time.
After recovering from COVID, some people still feel symptoms like fatigue, nausea, muscle aches and general weakness. The effects can last for weeks and even months. The World Health Organization calls this long COVID. And as Bing Wang reports, 1 in 5 adults could experience this condition.
Taiwanese actress and singer Candy Yang was diagnosed with COVID-19 in the middle of May this year. After 10 days of isolation and treatment, the 33-year-old thought she had fully recovered from the virus. But less than a week after leaving isolation, Yang was unable to finish an interview. She said she felt nauseated, had chest tightness, and difficulty breathing. Her manager immediately sent her to the emergency room.
他在拍戏的时候都会一直冒汗，一直冒冷汗，然后手会抖。 然后就慢慢就开始又轻微的发烧出来。
Yang says she is suffering from long COVID, a condition where people still feel the effects of the virus for weeks and months despite testing negative. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, about 1 in 5 adults experience long COVID. It comes with a list of symptoms.
这个是属于一些倦怠感、注意力无法集中的现象，神经的协调作用。 那这个都是属于大脑的这些功能啊，都会暂时受影响。
People with long COVID have also reported migraines, muscle aches, and difficulty breathing. For the past 2 years, the global focus has been on saving lives and vaccinations. But as the pandemic enters its final phase, it seems those who've had COVID-19 may have to deal with its effects long after they've defeated the virus. Patrick Chen and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
A previously unannounced U.S. delegation led by Senator Tammy Duckworth has arrived in Taiwan and met with President Tsai Ing-wen.
I am so pleased to be here to again reiterate that the United States stands with Taiwan and you will not stand alone. It is more than just about military, it's also about the economy.
The visit comes shortly after Joe Biden's trip to Asia, during which the U.S. president launched the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Taiwan is not included in that plan, and this congressional visit is being seen as a show of Washington's continued commitment to Taipei. The delegation will meet with Taiwanese security, economic and trade officials before leaving on Wednesday. Animal welfare activists are calling for an end to the practice of giving away animals as prizes or gifts in Taiwan's night markets. Ryan Ho-Kilpatrick has the story.
Elsewhere in the world, you can expect to win stuffed animals at fairground games. But in Taiwan's night markets, real live animals are often the prize. A matter of concern for animal rights groups and conservationists.
很多人过来，然后带它、看它，在它旁边讲话、摸它，主要会造成动物严重的紧迫，痛苦跟疾病都是一个紧迫会产生的后续的结果。
Also for sale, these small animals are often weaned from their mothers too early, weakened by malnourishment, and kept in cramped, unsanitary conditions. And they can die suddenly if left with people who are unprepared to care for them properly.
所以基本上我们要去做的是去考量说，我在夜市买这个动物对动物福利好不好？如果你真的喜欢这个动物的话，对动物来讲好不好？
But some animal lovers say more should be done than just encouraging potential night market buyers to think twice.
我们应该单纯就是可以直接禁止用娱乐游戏等等的行为进行动物交换与赠与的这个方式。
For many here, taking home a new pet from a night market is a fond childhood memory. But animal rights groups are pushing for the government to put an end to it, calling it a cruel practice that teaches children the wrong lessons about responsibility and caring for another life. Piper Yo and Reinho Kilpatrick for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, fighting for the right to compete under the name Taiwan. We speak to freediver Wang Mingjun.
Iconic food of Taiwan, beef noodle soup. This one is $24 US, $28, $337 US a bowl of noodle soup.
Oh, it's expensive.
It's very, very tender, and then it still maintains the characteristics of the fiber of the beef.
It just melts in your mouth almost.
Interesting. I never tried something like that.
Jason's Table, Shocked and Surprised, is on TaiwanPlus.
Okay, there's a couple here. There's one here. You see, 2, 3. 到目前的为止，大概6只而已啊，真的不多。赚不到钱呢，要钱也不够啊。来了，你看，又来了。I'm going to prepare them in a more European way. I'm going to smoke these eels. The best part, put it in your mouth.
Thanks for watching Taiwan Plus. For more great stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, please download the Taiwan Plus app.
Welcome back. You're watching Taiwan Plus News. Taiwanese athletes are back training after winning the right to compete under the name Taiwan at the Freediving Caribbean Cup. The team protested having to compete under the name Chinese Taipei, threatening to register did not starts at the international competition in Honduras. Competition organizers agreed they could use the name Taiwan. China, which claims Taiwan as its own, regularly puts pressure on international organizations and sporting events to reject athletes competing under the name Taiwan. Taiwan's team competes in the Olympics as Chinese Taipei. Our reporter Rick Glowett spoke to Taiwanese freediver Wang Mingjun, who came second in his category, about the protest. He began by asking him why competing under the name Taiwan was worth risking leaving the competition for.
I think it's the more than political issue, because in Taiwan, everybody knows China want to union Taiwan. Taiwan is one part of China, but it's not in reality. Taiwan has our government, we have our army, we have our system. There's nothing with China. Yeah, so it's very important for Taiwanese people. And even if our Taiwanese become China, a part of China, you can see we will lose freedom. We will lose everything. We lose, most of freedom. We cannot use internet. We cannot speak. We cannot show what we saw as a freedom.
How did it feel to be able to compete under Taiwan rather than Chinese Taipei?
When we can compete as the Taiwan, the country of Taiwan, we are very happy. And the foreign friend, or USA, many fans, he told us, you make the right things. You don't, you are right. You need to protest for your right. You are not, Taiwan is Taiwan, China is China. Yeah, we are happy to have many supports from many friends, the other athletes, and also the staff. You need to protest your right. Yeah, we feel very warm in my heart.
Why did you choose to make a stand and protest and stand up for Taiwan? And why do you think it's important that people do that?
If something is not right to you, especially the Taiwanese with China, if you don't to speak what you thought, you will. Yeah, I mean, you need to say something if you don't feel good. Don't behind, don't hide with you. You are not happy. You need to tell the other person he's not doing right.
Rescuers in Nepal have recovered the bodies of all 22 people aboard a plane that crashed on Sunday. A preliminary investigation suggests the Tara Air flight crashed because of bad weather. The plane lost contact 12 minutes after takeoff. 2 Germans, 4 Indians and 16 Nepalese were on board the aircraft. Airplane accidents are not uncommon in Nepal, where the weather can change quickly and landing strips are often in difficult mountain terrain. The Mona Lisa has been attacked by a man in a wig in a climate-related publicity stunt. The 36-year-old man was able to get close and throw a piece of cake at the painting by disguising himself as an old lady in a wheelchair. He shouted, "Think of the Earth," as he was escorted away from the Louvre Museum. The Paris prosecutor's office says the man has been sent to a police psychiatrist unit. The Mona Lisa was unharmed as protective glass caught all the cream. One of Taiwan's most important festivals, the Dragon Boat Festival, is coming up this weekend. To mark the occasion of the annual 3-day Taipei International Dragon Boat Championships kick off on Friday. TaiwanPlus reporter Louise Watt is at the riverside ahead of the races.
There's a lot of frantic paddling going on behind me, and that's because the Dragon Boat Festival is coming up. It's a big holiday across much of Asia, and it's taken particularly seriously here in Taiwan. Now, the teams on the river at the moment are in training for the biggest dragon boat race of the year, where more than 4,000 people will take to this river. Dragon boat racing started about 2,000 years ago, and it's only in the last 30 years it's become a serious international sport. It's different to rowing. The boats and the teams are bigger, and they're supposed to paddle to the beat of a drum. Like many sporting events, the Dragon Boat race has been hit by the pandemic. In 2020, spectators weren't allowed, and last year it was postponed and then scaled down. So this year the teams are hoping that things will be back to normal and the banks will be filled with people cheering them on. Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus at the Geelong River in Taipei.
Egypt has put a newly unearthed trove of ancient treasures on display for the first time. The artifacts include 250 painted sarcophagi with intact mummies inside, along with more than 100 bronze statues and ritual vessels. The cache is around 2,500 years old and comes from a mass burial ground at Saqqara outside Cairo. Archaeologists have been working at the site since 2018 and believe there is much more still to discover. The pieces will eventually go on permanent display at the Grand Egyptian Museum, a mega project still under construction. Taiwan was once known for its natural beauty, so much so that it was given the name Ilha Formosa, or Beautiful Island in Portuguese. A local photographer has spent more than a decade trying to capture that beauty through his time-lapse photography. Ken Ning has more.
A sea of clouds gently glides through the mountains as the sun slowly rises from the horizon. This breathtaking scene is a time-lapse image captured by Zhuang Jiahe. He has spent more than 10 years collecting images of Taiwan's natural beauty to create moving tapestries such as this. Zhuang says one of his most memorable experiences was climbing Jijing Mountain to capture images of lightning.
拍闪电的那一个画面，很担心说那天晚上会出什么事情，因为四周围都是闪电，是蛮可怕的。
No matter how bad the weather is, Zhuang says he still does his best to collect pictures he can use for his time-lapse photography. Over the course of his career, Zhuang has captured nearly 300,000 photos, and he's turned them into a 20-minute time-lapse video that he has posted online. Some of his most well-known works are images of the starry skies and the Milky Way swirling over the mountains. They have captured the imagination of the public.
缩时的方式让我们发现，原来漫步调会看到更多美景，让国外注意到台湾原来有那么好的风景。
Some have posted online saying that Zhuang's images have made them want to visit Taiwan to see it for their own eyes. It's not been easy for Zhuang. He's logged nearly 500,000 kilometers during his travels, and the wear and tear has ruined 4 of his cars. But the photographer says he will continue to do his work to let the world see the beauty of Taiwan. Alex Chen and Ken Ning for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. I'm Yin Khvat. We leave you with images of a historic parade that featured 4 children riding a giant horse known as Bayard Steed. The 4.85-metre tall wooden figure dances to the rhythm of a marching band in a Belgian town. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please download the Taiwan Plus app. Stay safe and see you next time.